High above the gleaming capital world of the Galactic Empire, the massive Imperial Council chamber hung like a crystal snowflake against the stars. Inside, 12 of the most powerful beings in the galaxy sat around a floating holographic display, their attention fixed on a small blue planet spinning slowly in the projection. Admiral Rex, a veteran of countless conquest campaigns, pointed his scaled finger at the hologram. "Another primitive world, my lords. Hardly worth our attention." His voice carried the weight of 300 years of military experience, but today it held a note of something unusual: uncertainty. The council members shifted in their seats. For 10,000 years, the Empire had ruled over 1,000 star systems and 300 species. They had seen every possible variation of civilization. Or so they thought. "Primitive, you say?" The High Counselor's voice echoed in the chamber. "Then explain these energy readings." With a wave of his hand, the hologram changed to show a web of power signatures covering the blue planet's surface. A junior analyst named Tom stood nervously at the edge of the chamber. He was new to his position, but something about this world had caught his attention. After 3 sleepless nights studying the data, he had requested an emergency audience with the council, something unheard of for someone of his rank. "My lords," Tom's voice quivered but grew stronger as he spoke, "this species calls themselves humans. Yes, their visible technology appears primitive. Chemical rockets, basic satellites, limited space presence. But look deeper." He stepped forward and adjusted the hologram. "These energy readings don't match their apparent level of development. And there's more." The display shifted to show a timeline of human history. In just 300 years, they went from horse-drawn carriages to spaceflight. In 50 years, they went from basic computers to global information networks. No other species we've encountered has shown this rate of advancement. The council members murmured among themselves. Such rapid progress was unprecedented. Admiral Rex scoffed. "Quick learners or not, they're still contained to one planet. One fleet would be enough tow." "There's more," Tom interrupted, immediately regretting his boldness. But the council gestured for him to continue. "Their entertainment media, what they call fiction. It's filled with stories about alien invasions. For centuries, they'd been imagining and preparing for extraterrestrial contact. Most notably," he paused, bringing up new images, "most of these stories end with humanity winning." The High Counselor leaned forward. "You're saying they've been preparing for us, without even knowing we exist?" "Not exactly preparing, my lord. More like practicing. In their fiction, they face everything from beneficial aliens to hostile invaders. They'd been playing out every possible scenario. And there's something else unusual about them." The hologram showed scenes from human history. Every conflict they've had, and they've had many, has led to massive technological jumps. World War I gave them aircraft. World War II led to computers and nuclear power. The Cold War pushed them into space. Admiral Rex's scales had lost some of their luster. "Are you suggesting this species actually advances through conflict?" "Yes, my lord. While other species typically lose technology during wars, humans seem to accelerate their development. They have a saying, 'Necessity is the mother of invention.' For them, war has been the greatest necessity." The council chamber fell silent. Finally, the High Counselor spoke. "Your recommendation, analyst." Tom straightened his back. "Standard protocol would be to send a subjugation fleet. My recommendation is, don't. At least not until we understand them better. There's too much we don't know. These energy readings could indicate hidden military capabilities. Their rapid advancement rate suggests they could adapt quickly to our technology, and their constant preparation for alien contact means they might have defenses we haven't detected." Admiral Rex slammed his fist on the table. "Absurd. They're barely space-capable. One fleet will." "Proceed with standard protocol," the High Counselor interrupted. "Prepare the subjugation fleet. Analyst Tom, your concerns are noted, but the Empire has not ruled for 10,000 years. by being cautious with primitive species. As the council members filed out, Tom stared at the hologram of Earth, still spinning peacefully. He couldn't shake the feeling that the Empire was about to make a terrible mistake. In the darkness of space, humanity continued its preparations, unaware that they were about to face their first real alien invasion, and that their lifetime of preparation was about to be put to the test. The Imperial subjugation fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. 20 massive warships, each 5 kilometers long, moved silently through space. Their black hulls absorbed light rather than reflecting it, making them look like moving holes in space. Fleet Commander Marcus stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Imperial Might. He had led 30 successful conquests, and this would be his 31st. A simple operation: show overwhelming force, demand surrender, and accept their submission. That's how it always went. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're detecting broadcast signals from the target planet." Marcus nodded. "Put them through." A human voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect Imperial Standard thanks to their translation matrices. "Unknown vessels, this is Earth Defense Command. You have entered restricted space. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." The human's response was unusually calm. Most species panicked at first contact. Marcus smiled. This would be easy. "Attention, primitive world," he began, using the standard conquest speech. "You are now in the presence of the Galactic Empire, rulers of 1,000 systems. Surrender your world and submit to Imperial rule. Resistance will be met with destruction." There was a pause. Then the human voice returned, still eerily calm. "We appreciate your introduction. However, we propose peaceful diplomatic contact instead. We have prepared facilities for—" Marcus cut the transmission. Diplomacy was not an option. The Empire didn't negotiate with primitive species. "Launch the show of force attack," he ordered. "Target their largest military installation." Standard protocol. 5 Imperial destroyers moved forward, charging their main weapons. The shots fired, brilliant beams of energy streaking toward Earth's surface. They never hit their targets. Suddenly, the space around Earth lit up. Hundreds of previously invisible satellites activated, creating the shield network. The Imperial weapons dissipated harmlessly against it. "Impossible," Marcus shouted. "Their technology level." "Sir," his sensor officer interrupted. "New contacts. Hundreds of them." What looked like empty space around Earth's orbit shimmered as stealth fields dropped. Hidden defense platforms, easily matching Imperial technology, revealed themselves. They had been there all along, waiting. The human voice returned, but this time it was different. Harder. "Imperial forces, you have committed an act of war against Earth. This is your only warning. Withdraw immediately." Marcus laughed. These primitives thought they could threaten the Empire. "All ships, full attack pattern. Show these primitives." He never finished the sentence. The human defense platforms opened fire. Their weapons weren't Imperial technology. They were something entirely different. Beams of strange energy cut through Imperial shields like they weren't there. "Sir, we've lost contact with destroyers 3 and 4. The bridge crew's panic was rising. 5 and 7 are reporting critical damage." Marcus stared in disbelief as his fleet, pride of the Empire, began falling apart. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were winning. "Fall back," he ordered. "Emergency jump tow." A new human voice cut in. "Oh no, you don't." A wave of energy washed over the Imperial ships, disrupting their faster-than-light drives. In the next 20 minutes, Marcus watched helplessly as the humans systematically destroyed his fleet. Their attacks were precise, targeting engines and weapons while mostly avoiding crew sections. They weren't just fighting. They were collecting data, testing their weapons against Imperial defenses. Only the Imperial Might survived, its engines crippled. A final transmission came from Earth. "Return to your empire. Tell them what happened here." Tell them Earth has been preparing for this moment for centuries. Tell them that we gave you a chance for peace, and you chose war. They should choose more wisely." As his damaged flagship limped away from Earth under normal power, Marcus thought about the junior analyst's warning. The humans hadn't just been ready. They had been waiting, hiding their true capabilities behind a mask of primitive technology. In the ship's databanks, automatic recordings had captured everything. The hidden defense platforms, the shield network, the strange new weapons. But most importantly, they had recorded the horror of realization that the Empire had just picked a fight with a species that had spent its entire history preparing for this exact moment. The Empire had made first contact with humanity, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the Empire had lost. The Imperial Military Analysis Chamber was in chaos. Dozens of the Empire's best minds gathered around multiple holographic displays, watching the battle footage from Earth for the 100th time. The room, normally a place of quiet study, now buzzed with nervous energy. Head Analyst Bill paced back and forth, his ceremonial robes forgotten and crumpled. In 300 years of service, he had never seen anything like this. On the main screen, they watched again as the human defense platforms emerged from their stealth fields, their weapons cutting through Imperial shields like paper. "Impossible," one analyst muttered. "Their technology shouldn't be at this level. We watched them for years. They were using primitive rocket technology." "That's what they wanted us to see," Tom said quietly from his corner. After the disaster at Earth, the junior analyst had been promoted and brought into the inner circle. Every satellite we saw was a decoy. Every rocket launch was a show. They knew we were watching. The doors slid open, and Admiral Rex stormed in. His scales had turned a pale gray, a sign of extreme stress in his species. "The Imperial Council demands answers. How did a single primitive world destroy our best fleet?" Bill gestured to the central display. "Sir, we've been analyzing their communications. It's disturbing." He pressed a button, and the screen filled with human military documents, news reports, and entertainment media. "They've been preparing for alien contact for over 200 years." "What do you mean, preparing?" Rex demanded. Tom stepped forward. "Every piece of science fiction they created, every movie about alien invasion, every book about first contact, it wasn't just entertainment. It was preparation. They were thinking through every possible scenario, developing countermeasures for things they hadn't even seen yet." He brought up more images. "Look at their military development. After every war, they didn't just improve their existing weapons. They completely reinvented how they fought. World War I gave them aircraft. They turned them into weapons. World War II gave them rockets. They turned them into space programs. The Cold War threatened nuclear destruction. They developed satellite technology to watch for launches." Another analyst spoke up. "But their space program was so basic." "No," Tom corrected. "Their public space program was basic. What we saw was a cover." He showed new footage from the battle. "These defense platforms, they're decades old. While we watched their primitive rockets, they were secretly building a defense network. Every real military satellite went up completely hidden, using stealth technology we didn't even know was possible." Admiral Rex slumped into a chair. "How did they advance so fast, even with preparation?" "Because they never stopped fighting," Bill interrupted. He brought up a historical timeline. "Most species have one or two major wars before achieving unity. Humans? They fought constantly. But here's the strange part. They learned from every conflict. Each war pushed their technology forward. They didn't lose knowledge in conflicts like other species. They gained it." Tom nodded. "And that's not all. We intercepted some of their military communications during the battle." He played a recording. The room fell silent as they listened to human commanders calmly coordinating their defense, adjusting tactics in real time as they learned about Imperial technology. "They were studying us," Rex whispered. "Even while defending themselves, They were analyzing our weapons, our shields, our tactics. Sir, Bill said gravely, it gets worse. He showed new data from long-range sensors. They're not staying on Earth anymore. They're expanding into their solar system, building more defense platforms. And based on these energy readings, he paused. They've already reverse-engineered some of our technology from the destroyed ships. The room fell into stunned silence. Finally, Admiral Rex spoke, his voice heavy. So what you're saying is, we didn't just fail to conquer a primitive world. We revealed ourselves to a species that treats war as a learning experience, has been preparing for us for centuries, and can adapt our own technology against us. Yes, sir, Tom replied. And now they know we exist. They know we're hostile. And they've been practicing for this moment for their entire history. The Admiral looked at the battle footage one last time. The Empire has made a terrible mistake, and I fear we're about to learn just how terrible it was. The vast Imperial war fleet filled the space around Jupiter. 300 ships, the largest fleet assembled in 1,000 years, prepared for the attack on Earth. This time, the Empire wasn't taking any chances. Fleet Master John, the Empire's most decorated commander, stood on the bridge of his super dreadnought, the Imperial Vengeance. At 30 kilometers long, it was the largest warship ever built. Its main cannon could crack planets. All ships report ready, sir, his second-in-command reported. The humans won't be able to hide this time. Our new sensors can detect their stealth fields. John nodded. The Empire had learned from its first defeat. They had developed countermeasures against human technology. This time would be different. Launch the attack, he ordered. The fleet moved forward, spreading out in perfect formation. As they approached Earth's orbit, their sensors detected the human defense platforms. There seemed to be thousands more than before. Sir, his tactical officer called out, we're detecting strange energy readings from Earth's moon. Before John could respond, the moon's surface cracked open. A massive structure emerged, a weapon platform larger than anything the Empire had ever built. The humans had hollowed out their moon and turned it into a fortress. Impossible, John whispered, but there was no time for disbelief. The moon fortress fired. A beam of energy wider than a city shot out, cutting through space. 20 Imperial ships vanished instantly, not destroyed. They simply ceased to exist. What was that? John demanded. Unknown, sir. The weapon. It's creating localized space-time distortions. Our shields can't stop something that erases the space they occupy. More human ships appeared, emerging from hidden docks around their planet and moons. But these weren't the defensive vessels from the first battle. These were warships, clearly built using a combination of human innovation and reversed-engineered Imperial technology. All ships, open fire, John ordered. Launch all fighters. The space between Earth and Jupiter erupted in combat. Imperial energy beams met human weapons in spectacular collisions, but something was wrong. The humans weren't fighting according to any known tactics. Sir, they're ships. They're learning. The tactical officer's voice shook. Each time we destroy one, the others adapt their shields. They're using some kind of linked artificial intelligence. John watched in horror as human ships took hits that should have destroyed them, their shields adjusting in real time. Each Imperial tactic that worked once never worked again. The humans were adapting mid-battle. New contact, someone shouted. Massive energy spike from Mars. The red planet's surface rippled as another hidden base activated. Countless missiles launched, each carrying weapons that ignored Imperial shields completely. They had turned an entire planet into an ambush point. Sir, we're losing ships too fast. Their AI systems are predicting our moves before we make them. John slammed his fist on the command console. Fall back. All ships, emergency retreat. But the humans weren't finished. Small, agile craft slipped through the Imperial formation. Instead of attacking, they attached themselves to Imperial ships. Boarding parties. Sir, we're being hacked. The humans, they're not just boarding us. Their AI is invading our computer systems. Ship after ship fell silent as human AI systems tore through their defenses. Those that weren't destroyed or captured began to retreat in chaos. The perfect Imperial formation had dissolved into panic. The Imperial vengeance shuddered as human boarders cut through its hull. John watched the tactical display as his mighty fleet, the pride of the Empire, was systematically taken apart by an enemy that seemed to have planned for everything. "Send the emergency signal," he ordered quietly. "Warn the Empire. The humans, they're not just defending anymore. They're coming." As his ship's systems went dark, the last thing John saw was a message spreading across all Imperial channels. It was broadcasting in perfect Imperial standard. "You came to our home. You tried to conquer us. Now we will show you how humans wage war. This is only the beginning." The Empire had escalated the conflict, bringing their full might to bear. But they had only succeeded in proving what the humans had known all along. The bigger the war, the faster they would adapt. And now, humanity was taking the fight to the stars. The Imperial border world of Nexus Prime had never seen battle in its 1,000-year history. Now, its orbital defense stations erupted in flames as human warships emerged from faster-than-light travel directly inside the planet's defense grid. How did they bypass our early warning systems? The planetary governor demanded, watching as human ships systematically disabled the planet's defenses without destroying them. His answer came in the form of a broadcast, transmitted simultaneously across every communication channel on the planet. The message was simple. "Your scanning technology depends on detecting ripples in space-time. We learned to travel without making waves. Surrender, and no one needs to die today." In the 3 months since the Battle of Jupiter, humanity had launched attacks against 30 Imperial worlds. Each time, they appeared without warning, demonstrated overwhelming technological superiority, and offered bloodless surrender. On the Imperial capital world, the High Council watched in growing horror as reports flooded in from across the Empire. Admiral Rex, his scales now permanently gray from stress, presented the latest findings. "The humans." He paused, steadying himself. "They're not just copying our technology. They're improving it. Each captured ship provides them with new insights. Their artificial intelligences analyze our designs and find ways to make them better." He brought up a hologram showing the human advance. "But that's not the worst part. They're sharing this technology with our subject species, teaching them, helping them break free." The council chamber erupted in angry shouts. One member stood up. "Impossible. The slave chips prevent rebellion. The humans found a way to disable them," Rex replied quietly. "They broadcast the deactivation signal ahead of their fleets. By the time they arrive at a world, half its population is already free and ready to rebel." On the contested world of Beta 9, an Imperial commander watched in disbelief as his own slave soldiers turned against him. The humans hadn't even landed troops. They didn't need to. The newly freed soldiers were more than happy to secure the planet themselves. Back in the council chamber, Tom, now promoted to senior analyst, stepped forward. "There's more. The humans are using our own propaganda against us. They're broadcasting evidence of Imperial atrocities across all our worlds. Stories of our conquests, our slave programs, our suppression of technological advancement. They're turning our entire empire against us." He played a captured broadcast. It showed humans working alongside freed alien species, teaching them to use advanced technology, helping them build their own ships. "They're not trying to replace us as rulers," Tom explained. "They're dismantling the very concept of imperial rule." A new report flashed on the main screen. Another world had fallen, but this time without any human ships present. The local population had risen up on their own, using human-provided technology to overcome their imperial governors. "Don't you see?" Tom's voice carried across the silent chamber. "This isn't just a war of ships and weapons. The humans are fighting an idea with ideas. Every world they free becomes a beacon for others. They don't need to conquer the empire. They're inspiring it to tear itself apart. Admiral Rex nodded grimly. Our rigid command structure is working against us. We can't adapt fast enough. The humans are decentralized. Each of their fleet groups operates independently, sharing information but making their own decisions. We're fighting a swarm with a single mind. On yet another Imperial world, newly freed aliens watched in awe as humans taught them how to operate their own defense systems. Your empire kept you dependent, a human instructor explained. We're teaching you to stand on your own. The High Council sat in stunned silence as more reports of uprisings poured in. Their perfect, ordered empire was dissolving before their eyes. Worlds that had been loyal for thousands of years were declaring independence, protected by human-provided technology and inspired by human ideas of freedom. The Empire had started this war expecting to subjugate a primitive species. Instead, they had awakened a force that threatened not just their military power, but the very foundations of their civilization. And the humans showed no signs of slowing down. The Imperial Council's emergency session was interrupted by a priority transmission. The holographic message came from Fleet Master James, commander of the Empire's last major battle group. His face showed a weariness that even the hologram couldn't hide. "My lords," he began, his voice trembling, "I must report complete defeat at the core system's defense line. But more importantly, I must warn you about what we've learned about the humans. They're not like anything we've ever faced." The council chamber was silent as James continued. "We thought we understood warfare. We thought our 10,000 years of military history had taught us everything. We were wrong. The humans don't just fight wars. They revolutionize warfare itself." He pressed a button, and the hologram filled with battle data. "In 6 months, they've advanced more than we have in 1,000 years. Every defeat teaches them. Every victory makes them stronger. They don't just adapt, they evolve." Another council member spoke up. "But surely their resources must be limited. They're just one world." "No," James interrupted, breaking all protocol. "That's what we kept telling ourselves. But you don't understand. They're not fighting this war like we would. They're fighting it like humans." The hologram changed to show human production facilities. "They don't build things like we do. They innovate. When they can't match our production capacity, they invent ways to do more with less. Their ships are smaller but more effective. Their weapons are simpler but more powerful." The High Counselor leaned forward. "Explain." "Look at their artificial intelligence systems," James continued. "We thought AI was just a tool. They made it a partner. Their AIs don't just follow orders. They think, they learn, they suggest improvements. Every battle makes them smarter." He showed footage from recent battles. "Their tactics keep changing. They never fight the same way twice. Traditional military doctrine says this should make them weaker, but it doesn't. They're unpredictable, unstoppable." Tom, watching from his analyst station, noticed something in the data. "Sir," he called out, "these energy readings from their latest weapons." "Yes," James nodded grimly. "They're not just copying our technology anymore. They're creating new physics. They're asking questions we never thought to ask. Their scientists are turning theoretical papers into weapons in weeks, not decades." The council chamber erupted in worried murmurs. James continued, his voice growing more urgent. "But here's the most important thing we've learned. The humans, they don't want to rule the Empire. They don't even want to destroy it. They want to end it. Not just the government, the entire concept of imperial rule." He showed scenes from liberated worlds. Former slave species learning to use advanced technology. Rebel governments forming democratic councils. Trade routes being established between free worlds. Every planet they free becomes a beacon of hope for others. They're not just defeating our armies, they're defeating our ideas. They're showing our subject species a different way to live. And it's spreading faster than we can contain it. James's hologram flickered. "I don't have much time. Their ships have found my location. But you need to understand this. We didn't just start a war with a species. We started a war with an idea. The humans believe in freedom so strongly that they'll fight endless battles to give it to others. Alarms began blaring in the background of his transmission. One last thing. Their commander sent me a message to deliver to you. They said, your empire had 10,000 years to learn how to be better. You chose power instead. Now we're going to teach the galaxy what humanity learned through all its wars. That true strength comes from freedom, not control. The transmission cut off as human ships appeared behind James's fleet. The council sat in stunned silence, finally understanding the true nature of their enemy. They hadn't just awakened a powerful species, they had unleashed an unstoppable idea. In the silence that followed, Tom thought about his first analysis of human history. He had warned them about humanity's rapid advancement and unusual adaptability. But even he hadn't understood the full truth. Humans didn't just fight wars to win them. They'd fought wars to ensure they'd never be necessary again. 1 year after the first contact with humanity, the Imperial Palace received an unexpected transmission. It came from Earth, but it wasn't a military message. Instead, it was an invitation to peace talks. The High Council gathered in their chamber, now missing half its members who had fled to distant worlds. The holographic projector showed a simple message. The galaxy stands at a crossroads. Let's discuss its future together. It must be a trap, one council member said, his voice shaking. But they all knew they had no choice. 80% of Imperial worlds had already declared independence, protected by human technology, and united in their rejection of Imperial rule. The peace conference was set for neutral ground, a space station orbiting a dead star, far from both Earth and the Imperial capital. As the Imperial delegation approached, they saw ships from dozens of species gathered around the station. Former slaves now commanded their own fleets. Inside the station's main hall, the remaining Imperial Council members found themselves face to face with their adversaries for the first time. The human delegation was smaller than expected, just 3 representatives and their AI assistants. But what shocked the Council most was the presence of representatives from every major species in the galaxy, including many they had enslaved for thousands of years. The human chief negotiator stood. We are here today not to discuss surrender, but transformation. The old empire is finished. This is not negotiable. But we're not here to create a new empire. We're here to build something different. She gestured, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing a new map of the galaxy. Every world has the right to govern itself. Every species has the right to develop its own technology, culture, and future. This is what we propose. A galactic council where every species has an equal voice. The Imperial High Counselor scoffed. And who would enforce these rules? You humans? No, the human replied calmly. We all will. Together. She nodded to a former slave species representative who stood to speak. The humans could have conquered us all, the alien said. Instead, they taught us to be strong on our own. They showed us that true power comes from cooperation, not domination. One by one, representatives from different species stood to share their stories. How humans had helped them build their own ships, develop their own technology, and form their own governments. They weren't puppet states. They were truly independent, united by choice rather than force. The humans presented their terms. The empire would be dissolved, but its people would not be punished. Every world would have the right to choose its own path. A new galactic council would be formed, with representatives from all species working together to maintain peace and promote progress. But what's to stop another empire from rising? An Imperial Council member asked. The human smiled. The same thing that stopped you. Knowledge. We've shared our technology, our sciences, our philosophies with everyone. No single power can dominate a galaxy of equals. She turned to face the Imperial delegation directly. Your empire lasted 10,000 years because you hoarded knowledge and used it as a weapon. That age is over. We humans learned through our own bloody history that the only way to prevent war is to make everyone strong enough to resist it. As the conference continued, the details of the new order emerged. Trade routes would be open to all. Technology would be shared freely. A joint defense fleet would protect all member worlds, commanded by rotating leadership from different species. The Imperial Council members looked at each other, finally understanding. The humans hadn't just defeated them militarily, they had rendered their entire system of control obsolete. In its place, they had built something the Empire could never have imagined. A galaxy united by choice, not fear. 1 year after they had arrived to conquer Earth, the Empire signed the treaty that ended their rule. As the Imperial delegation prepared to leave, they found a message waiting in their ship's computer. It was brief, but it would be remembered for generations. If you value your empire, never start a war with humans. We don't just fight to win. We fight to ensure the war was the last of its kind. Remember this lesson, for the sake of all species to come.